could have drinks, say Thursday. You, me, the ghost, Trader Vic's around 4.
This is no joke, right? This is your last chance.
All right. I could squeeze you in for a breakfast. Oh, no, please don't think I'm a suicide. We're way up here. Give me a break.
You can be saved.
Don't let me go, Lou.
You got
God bless
time.
you. Oh, no. No, please.
Merry Christmas.
Pork's my meat. Ho, Vern. Mary.
I thought you said this Vern was a friend of yours.
Oh, Vern's just like that. He'll do anything for a laugh. Come on. It's Santa's little party helper.
Hi.
This is Harmony. She's been having kind of a tough time, so I'm helping her out. You know, kind of a father image kind of thing. As the twig is bent, so grows the tree. Know what I mean?
This is John here with Mike.
Hi.
We're here to film to juice. We're here to juice two films, and they're centered around the holiday Christmas season, and they're actually kind of almost like B-movie films for Christmas.
Yeah, just about. Yeah.
And they both got theater releases, and I think there's something to like from both of them. And so we'll go ahead. The two films that we're going to be talking about and juicing is Scrooge from 1988. It's a Christmas comedy starring Bill Murray. And actually another Christmas movie of the same year, Ernest Saves Christmas.
It was the same year?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Christmas comedy as well, starring Jim Varney.
Jim Varney, yeah.
And so we're gonna go start off with Scrooged and work our way towards Ernest Saves Christmas. So you want to start Scrooged off?
Yeah, Scrooge is about a completely cynical TV executive who is planning his adaptation of Christmas Carol. It starts off. Yeah, he's Bill Murray. He's very good at playing a dick. So it starts off with him. What would you say? Like
he's being. You find out right away what kind of Scrooge he is, and he's the corporate 80s version of Scrooge.
Yeah.
And so he will, in your face, just belittle you, and everything has to be entertainment-wise and Christmas-wise. It's about, it's all about money, and he's in charge of the Christmas Christmas time TV
Christmas
specials.
Carol.
Yeah,
and he just kind of he there's a perfectly probably fine family friendly movie that they've already made, and or at least they've made a promo for, and he ignores that for his vision of A Christmas Carol, which is um, guys getting into a shootout on a freeway, nuclear bombs, people. It's my favorite line in the movie by Bobcat Goldthwait. Goldthwait, where there's just a guy shooting up. There's there's violence, drugs, and he thinks this is the thing that people want to see. And
It's really totally bizarre and over the top. So it's hilarious to see that he just, yeah, and he wants to torture his whole crew by doing it live. Christmas Day.
on Christmas Eve.
It's Christmas Eve. Okay.
Yeah. And it's pretty sad in a way, and it's pretty disheartening, and that's what I love about it. Is like this is a Christmas movie, and it's the opposite of what any Christmas movie should be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really, I think for the time too, in 1988, it really brings it into modern day. That was my impression. The whole Christmas, it's a Christmas Carol. It's based off of Christmas Carol, like the story itself.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
he is eventually, Bill Murray's character is supposed to be Scrooge. And you see people that he works for, you see his family. Those are the people that he and the three ghosts, is it Christmas past, Christmas present, Christmas future.
Yeah.
They take him to different to those different people in his family and who he works with and his past relationships and so yeah, really, I thought it was really good. Like right away, I was like, hey, this is actually a really good kind of modern day Scrooge story,
Yeah.
and because you really, I mean, and then there's the comedy aspect. There's a big comedy aspect to it, which I thought was, for the most part, done really well. It's Scrooge is, really relies on, feeling, you don't like Scrooge, and you kind of see him have these.
He's a very sad person.
Yeah.
Like, he just hates everything, and especially about Christmas. And they do explore that in the movie. Because his mom, I guess we'll get into the plot. Frank Cross, his mother, it's Christmas Eve, and his mother, I want to believe it's Christmas Eve, and his mother is like, well, I'm going to go out and find you a daddy. And she's like smoking a cigarette, and she's pregnant, and he's like glued to the TV, and he's watching things that comfort him. And and I don't think he ever got over that. Like, he probably never had a proper Christmas where you're with your family, and regardless of what you're doing, you feel like comforted by the company, and you feel something. And his character just is just like as a child, they don't sense it, but they are tortured, and uh, they don't know like what the mom's up to, or that they have like a deadbeat dad who disappeared.
Yeah.
It's the whole dad went out to buy a pack of cigarettes and he never came back.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so he's stuck there, and basically the television raises him, and then he becomes a television executive.
Yeah, he starts off as kind of the male guy. It shows
Yeah,
him, and then yeah,
that's
he
right.
he
Yeah,
he came up with an idea for a show at some point, and he was trying to, it shows him in like it's he's in one of those. It's a
it's
dog.
it's it's a
He
kid's show. Yeah,
yeah,
where
and
he's
he's
playing the dog, and the is it the is it the dead guy from the beginning that has like
yeah.
rats crawling out of his head? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's his boss at the time. Yeah.
he's like, "Come on, Frank, I want you to have dinner with me and my." I don't think I don't think he said wife.
It was his assistant.
Right?
But
Yeah, and
yeah, he's always cheating
she,
on his wife.
yeah, and Karen Allen's character Claire. Um, she was
Mm,
like, "Oh, I thought we were gonna go do this thing," and he's like, "But it's the boss." And so she kind of starts to give up on him, and
mm-hmm.
um, it's a sad turn of events because he starts to put his work in front of his own life, basically,
Yeah.
and that's just like the beginning of like his adult life of being this vapid kind of condescending dick.
Mm-hmm.
um and but
Y-
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So um that's kind of the Scrooge in this story. That's how the Scrooge is portrayed in this story, and yeah, I thought it was very. I got into it. I was like, yeah, I mean, this makes sense. I mean, this character here, at least, um, it was enough to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see how this guy is a Scrooge, and Bill Murray played him really well. Uh,
he did. He was a complete asshole. When Claire goes to visit Frank at the studio after he encounters his old boss, um, she's like, "Hey, how are you?" And he's like, "We'll just staple the antlers on the damn deer." No, not deer.
the mouse.
The deer mouse.
Hmm.
Was that what that was? Dormouse?
It was, yeah, they were trying to make the mice look like deer. I don't know why.
Yeah. He's like, "Well, then just staple them on." And she's like, "No, don't staple them. Why would you do that?" And he's like, "Ah, yeah, just, just do it." Um,
Yeah,
and she's like,
she.
"You called me, and you were very frightened, and I was worried about you." And I like this exchange where she goes, or he says, "Hey, you still trying to save the world?" And she's like, "Are you still trying to sell it?" She says something like that. So, are you still trying to run it?
That's what she said. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still trying to run it.
And he just kind of laughs, like, haha. But really, it's like, dude, you're kind of an asshole. Um, but
There was, yeah, and you can become aware of just how blind, um, you know, Bill Murray is and his character is, and his girlfriend. I thought she was really sweet. Um, the actress they chose and everything. Uh, and the first ghost actually that appeared to him, that was actually a really kind of scary.
oh, the Elvish guy
Um,
that showed him his past.
it was the guy who warned, or I'm sorry, the one who warned him, the one who said he'd be visited by three ghosts.
Oh, the very first guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
and like he holds him out the window.
yeah, I was like, dang. And then you see like his arm he's hanging from,
Oh, his arm tears off.
and Bill Murray falls like down this building, and wakes up and scared, and that's when he called
And that's when he calls Claire.
Claire, yeah. And so that they hadn't spoken for years, and so
I
that's how
think
they.
I like how he looks at his watch and he's like, I think it's been about 15 years
Mm,
since
yeah.
we've spoken. um,
Yeah, so that was all that was really good. I feel like as it went on, I think the comedy started conflicting a little bit for me.
there is a big, I don't want to say, is contradiction the right word? Where it's supposed to be like this dark comedy, but there's still comedy and there's darkness, and they're colliding rather than um, rather than kind of threading together.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's being replaced, right?
Yeah.
And so he goes to the dinner with his boss and the replacement guy. And the replacement guy is John Glover from Gremlins 2 and also from Batman and Robin.
Mm.
And, so they go and Frank starts seeing, he has like weird visions. Like he thinks the guy lighting the souffle is on fire.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's one of my favorite jokes in the movie is like he comes up and he throws like a container of water on him. And the guy's like, what are you, like, what? And he's like, I'm sorry, I thought you were Richard Pryor. And that's how Richard Pryor burned himself because he was freebasing. And that's like the funniest thing. I don't know why it's so funny to me.
Mm-hmm. I didn't catch that
Or
actually.
he sees an eyeball in the drink instead of ice when the waiter
That's
comes
right. Yeah.
over,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like he's like startled and he's like, "Are you him? Are you him?" And the waiter's just like, "Are you he?"
Yeah, that was strange. Just like that.
And they're like, Frank, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm great. I'm just gonna get up. And that's when he, like, I'm convinced that fall was not improvised. Like, after he makes the Richard Pryor comment, he starts walking out of the restaurant, and it just looks like it hurts. Like,
Mm.
he slips in the water, and his ankle and his knee just bend outward or
Mm.
inward, and I don't know why I find that so funny. There's just so many small moments in this movie that I find really funny. Um, but so yeah, so he's being. We forgot to mention that he fired um, Bobcat Goldthwait, who is Elliot. Um, and Elliot suddenly becomes an alcoholic, and he's sitting out on the curb. Um, and he's talking about, like, he just had a little baby girl, and his wife left him. Like, this is all in a matter of hours. Like, this is a terrible thing to happen to a person that Frank caused.
Yeah, that was really crappy of him.
I mean, he does some, like, shitty things, man. Like, uh, so yeah, so then he, like, what happens? Okay, so old boss comes to him, supposed to be like the Bob Marley. Bob Marley. It's not Bob Marley. It's Marley something. Um, Bob Marley. Um, the guy that visits him, and the rat comes out of his head. Um,
Hmm.
right after that is when the ghosts start visiting him.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and I thought they were good for the most part. I thought the ghosts were good. I guess there were some things that just made it, it like you said, um, the comedy in there it was funny, and I know it was trying to be funny, and to me, it kind of took away from the Scrooge story a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and the impact, and the destination of Bill Murray's character Frank Cross was kind of a little watered down because of the comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get to the end, I feel like, I just think that the ending, because it was so watered down throughout the middle of the movie, towards
Mm-hmm.
the end, like it was when Frank Cross has his, kind of, you know,
Moment of clarity.
yeah, and his heart softens, it's just kind of, it's almost like he's been joking throughout the whole time that it's hard to believe that. But Bill Murray does a really good job, but story wise, it's hard to believe that he's had this, aha moment. And
Like, just this sudden. Is it epiphany? Am I using that right?
yeah, I think that's a good word. Yeah,
Like,
epiphany,
he just
change of
suddenly,
heart.
like within 24 hours, he's like, it's like an alcoholic being like, oh my god, I'm an alcoholic, and I gotta stop drinking right now. Um, but uh, so
It it was kind of hard for me to be convinced from when the last ghost, he's with the last ghost. He sees himself burning, and he's in the coffin,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, when he's being cremated.
and then all of a sudden he wakes up, and he's like, I'm alive, and then he just starts saying, it's Christmas, I'm alive, and
Well, that is, like, honestly, that is kind of a Christmas story. That's kind of what happens. Like,
it
within
is.
within a night,
It
the guy
is.
changes.
And that's
Like, I'm
fine.
not saying that's okay. I'm just saying, like, that's what happens in the story.
It was, and I don't have a problem with that. It's just the way that this story with the comedy, I think, it wasn't as
True,
impactful as,
true, true.
and to me um that's because I actually really love the Christmas Carol. Actually, it's one of my favorite movies for
Oh, I
Christmas.
said a Christmas story.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go kill myself.
No, but yeah, it's so yeah. Seeing that as too is like, man, I wish. But Bill Murray. I mean, this is a comedy though. I mean, so
Yeah.
I didn't go into it knowing fully because this is the first time I've seen this movie actually too, all the way through.
Hmm.
So I didn't go into it thinking, oh, this is gonna be a full comedy. I was just kind of open, like okay, I'll just see what happens. So that was maybe if you know like this is going to be mostly funny along with the Christmas Carol uh,
Yeah.
undertones and threading throughout. Um, then yeah, you're going to get some good laughs and you're going to get the Christmas Carol story, along with it. And
Which is a little conflictive.
yeah.
Just a
But
little bit.
and then there's that whole montage he has, at the end where
Singing.
he's singing, he's speaking, he interrupts the Christmas Carol program, live program, to speak to his family, to his friends that he's mistreated, and I just and it's this it's supposed to be this very touching thing, it's very he's a lot of reconciliation and forgiveness and mercy and Christmas joy that he's trying to spread and it's it's a very powerful thing, but it's again it was the whole comedy that I was just like what, like it almost feels out of place, um and a little bit forced.
Yeah, I agree with that. I did like. Okay, so there's the Ghost of Christmas Past, who's like an elf person. Um, Shows her the like how he used to be a dog or a guy in a dog costume,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Ghost of Christmas Present, who is Carol Kane from Taxi. Um,
Mm.
and she's showing him how his assistant is living, which is, you know, she's got like 4 kids, her husband's dead. And she even asks him, she's like, don't you remember that time where she wore only black for a month? And he's like, I thought it was just a fashion trend. And he's just so clueless, and he doesn't bother to try to understand people. And then
Mm-hmm.
uh, the Ghost of Christmas Future portion where what's his name? Elliot has the shotgun.
Yes.
He's about to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes in there. The Grim Reaper is in there, and he opens up the thing, and it's a bunch of like screaming dead souls. And ever since I was a kid, I loved that part because it was like so weird.
It
And he
is
does it. He
weird.
does it twice. Like he
does.
opens it, and you see him, and then he kind of looks away, and he opens the robe again, and they're just like all you see is his reaction, which is nothing. And he's like, kids are going to be watching this. We're going to get phone calls, and they show Claire being this highfalutin just
she helps kids out. Yeah,
she's like, get away from here.
Oh yeah, she's at like a homeless shelter. She helps at a homeless shelter.
But now she's like, get out of here. Get out of your homeless children. Someone once told me, brush them off, Claire. Brush them off. And I like that moment because it shows that, like, there are consequences to his actions. Like, he's not only affecting himself, he's affecting everyone around him that cares about him.
Mm-hmm.
I did like that. And then he shows up he's like in the elevator with the Grim Reaper and
yeah.
He shows him like, yeah, go here and watch this. And yeah, I enjoy that movie. It's one of my Christmas movies that I like to watch. But what did you think overall?
Yeah, overall, I think it's overall, I think it was an alright movie. I it's one thing I've noticed about Christmas movies, and I noticed it about both of these, is they kind of fall apart in the message towards the end, and I get it. It's they either don't want to go too religious or they don't want to be too cheesy, and this one is they try and fall right on the line in between.
Yeah.
For the most part, and unless it's about Santa or something, but anyways, this one is definitely better than your Hallmark movie, that you're gonna see, that they show all day.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's very entertaining, and so yeah, I mean, I think it's more of an adult movie as well.
It's like a teenager. It's like PG-13.
Yeah, I would say that too.
I wouldn't show this to a kid as I was.
Yeah, same. And yeah,
yeah.
I think it's and it's one of those things too. I think it's just helpful to know that it's more or it does rely heavily on like the comedy side of things, and where where it's rude comedy, where it's um, a little sexual, here and there, but not very much as far as
Yeah,
the
it's not
sexual
too
thing
bad.
goes.
Did you
But
catch when she was smoking the roach with the she was in the bathtub when Claire was, and she was smoking a roach.
no, I didn't catch that.
I thought that was weird, but I guess it showed like they were. I I don't
Wild,
know
I
what the point of that
guess.
was. Like, it's not crazy wild. Like, she wasn't doing coke in the bathtub. It was just like she was smoking. What do you call those? Forceps.
Hmm. Oh, really? I don't even remember that part. Hmm.
It's right before the part where they talk about the what's the sex Indian book?
Oh, yeah, it's not Kama Sutra, right? It's
It is, yeah. The
okay.
Kama Sutra. They start talking about it, and
That's
I'm
right.
just
That
like,
was weird to me too. I was like, "What?" It was funny though. It's a little
it was
sexual
funny,
joke,
yeah.
but yeah, scene there, and it was funny. Like, yeah, the way that Bill Murray and and her, what's her name, Claire, in the movie.
Yeah, Karen Allen.
It
I
was funny.
liked,
Yeah.
I I liked Bobcat Goldthwait losing his shit and just shooting at Bill Murray just without prejudice. Like, he
Mm.
did not give a fuck. He was just shooting a shotgun. I don't know how he got in there with the shotgun, but uh,
Mhm.
no, I love that scene, and I loved. There's so much I love about that movie. Uh, but let's move on. What do we got?
Yeah. So, moving on from that, this next one is like definitely a big family friendly
Mm,
uh, Christmas comedy film, Ernest Saves Christmas with Jim Varney.
yeah,
One thing I
yeah.
appreciate about Jim Varney, I will say too, is his comedy of, he you don't I feel like you don't see it very much. Same with Bill Murray too, actually, but that type of uh,
Like, kind of dry. Um, like, I don't give a shit humor.
yeah, yeah, and it's uh, I I I love it. I love the way Bill Murray really communicates that and so well, um, and Ernest, Jim Varney, his type of comedy is more like the character comedy, and
Somebody, I recently read an article about how Adam Sandler is the new Ernest, and
hmm,
ag- I don't agree with that. I think Jim Carrey was.
yeah, he reminds me of Jim Carrey a lot more. Um,
Like, he's willing to put on so many hats in one movie that, um, and not in a bad way.
mhm.
Uh, he's just that versatile. Like, when I saw Ernest put on like an old lady face, I was like, I'm okay with this.
Right, and I love how it doesn't he that he's like, I love the comedy because you know that it's for one, like, you can laugh out loud like with anyone that's around. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that and same with Bill Murray actually a lot. Like, I feel like there's less comedy like that in general too.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I appreciate that about um, Jim Varney, and he brings it all in this movie too. And so it's hilarious because Ernest Saves Christmas. Ernest finds himself, in the middle of uh, Santa Claus is old. And just needs to retire, and he's looking for a replacement, and Ernest is his taxi driver. So that's how they meet, and the story basically starts that way. And um, so uh, Santa is trying to convince a TV actor uh, who is part of a kids show.
Oh, that guy, Joe Carney, I
Joe
think.
Carruthers,
Carruthers, yeah.
played by Oliver Clark. Um, so Santa Claus actually played by Douglas Steele. Actually, he did really good on that. And um, like, right away, you just think he's Santa Claus, the way he looks and
Well,
everything.
he's got the beard.
And
I mean,
he just has like this friendliness about him too. That
he's
you
like,
know,
I'm not gonna molest these children. Or what was he? I'm not gonna kill them. What was his character gonna do? It
well,
doesn't matter.
he goes to Joe Carruthers, and trying to tell him like, hey, I want you to be the new Santa Claus. And so um, Joe Carruthers is kind of hesitant. He kind of believes him, and he has an agent who's like, wow, this guy's crazy. Calls the cops, and Santa Claus ends up getting arrested. Um, and along the way, they met this young lady, uh, Pamela Trenton,
Mm,
played by Noah Parker, and she's like a runaway kid, and you kind of see her being like just lying throughout, and she's like the troubled teenage kid that doesn't believe in Christmas, doesn't believe in Santa anymore. And Ernest and Santa, she goes along like throughout the story for the adventure and everything, and she kind of ends up having a change of heart, but it causes a lot of trouble for them too along the way. And yeah, it's a very simple story. Um, yeah, and you just see Ernest, being, he kind of reminds me of too. Um, he almost reminds me of like a Scooby and Shaggy,
mm,
that type of character.
mm.
Um, they end up doing something and catching the bad guy at the end, and that's kind of Ernest. He just goes with it, and uh, causes a lot of havoc and stuff. But yeah, he ends up being the saving the day, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it, you know, there's a lot of funny moments, and the characters he plays are pretty hilarious too. Um, but it was different for me to see. I haven't seen anything like. I remember seeing it as a kid, and I feel like as a kid I understood. Like I was as I was watching it just a few days ago, I was remembering watching it as a kid and kind of bringing some flashbacks, and yeah, I felt like as a kid, yeah, I thought some of it doesn't make sense now, you know, looking at it as, from an adult's eyes, but back then it was it was really funny, and I just understood. I feel like you understood, like, oh, Christmas, getting gifts, and um, you know, getting gifts as a kid is just so much more important, I think, than getting gifts as an adult.
Yeah.
So, and this one being centered around Santa Claus, you're like, okay, you know. So yeah, I like this one overall. I think overall though, there are definitely its flaws. It definitely has some flaws in it, but um, it's a fun, different Christmas movie. You know, uh, that does have a lot of good uh, moments in it.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was really visually interesting. The way that they, uh, I want to say they built a set of a roof and let some reindeer wander around it. I'm like, okay, man, that's creative. Like, um,
It was all shot in Orlando, Florida, too. For the most part, some were shot in Nashville too, actually.
that's weird.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Um, yeah, it says it was the first major feature production filmed almost entirely in Orlando, Florida, at the unfinished Disney MGM Studios. Why are you laughing like that? It was number 2 at the box office too,
I
and
saw that.
opening weekend. Yeah,
Everyone was so excited.
yeah. This was still at the height of the Ernest franchise, and um, yeah, it says it's the third film to feature Varney's character, Ernest P. Worrell.
I did like how smart Ernest thought he was. Um, like, what a moron.
Yeah.
Um, um,
Yeah, seriously.
and then I hated the girl. Um,
Yeah, I remember having a
she
crush on her as a kid.
sure. I mean, I have a crush on her now. But she was just like, every time she spoke, I rolled my eyes. Like, don't do this to yourself.
You think she sounded too like stereotypical?
Yeah, she reminded me of DJ from Full House.
Hmm. Okay.
Like, I just didn't want her to talk.
I know my wife Abby felt like off with her character too. I didn't think anything of it, but that may be because I saw it as a kid too. It's just something I was remembering and kind of familiar with. But yeah, my wife had never seen the movie, and she was saying that she felt that she looked older than what she was trying to portray. Or she's like, she's kind of just, yeah. It was just, she felt conflicted.
Which character?
The one you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She looked the age that she was pretending to be.
Hmm. Well, I thought
If
so
she was
too.
like 17, I'm like, you're lying. How old are you
Hmm.
really, ma'am? And she's like, I'm 17. Like, no, ma'am. You pull out your gun. Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Yeah, it was a weird time because it reminded me a lot of 90s movies where they did that a lot, where the kid was a lot more like the runaway kid.
Yeah.
Like they made like they acted as if they were adult runaways. Um, and I don't know why they did that for a while back then.
How are you an adult runaway?
Or like,
Like, can't you just leave?
that's true, that's true. Or like an adult drifter, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Uh, that's a way to put it, but because she's staying with two older men. Like if you really start to think about it, like she's staying with two older
You
men that she
mean
just met.
Ernest and Santa?
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, I didn't think
So
about that.
it's kind of weird
But
it is weird when you think about it, but it doesn't. Yeah, it was that
but
time period.
going back to that, let's go to the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So she's with these two guys,
Well,
and
so throughout, I will say, just like talking about it like that, it does give that impression. It's kind of weird. It is weird, but throughout the film, though, they look out for her. Like they look out for her. Like uh, they become like father figures. It's nothing. Um, or like you know what I mean. Like they look out for her. So
yeah,
that you don't get any of that. You don't get the sense of any mistreatment or anything like that.
yeah,
But yeah. um, so this is World War II, or the end. I don't like the end very much. I feel like it was really dull.
yeah.
It had the potential to be powerful, but I really don't think that Ernest on the sled needed to be on the sled that long. Um, like that, I think that scene was just too long. Him on the sled trying to get it back to Santa in time.
Oh, yeah. When it Yeah, it was.
It was too long, yeah, and then he finally gets it to Santa. Joe Carruthers finally agreed to be Santa, and the girl Pamela, she believes in Santa again, and she ended up stealing his toy sack and finally returns it, and so they're all there together, and Santa hooks up with an old lady, and um, Ernest gets to ride with Santa as well as Pamela. They get to ride with Santa to deliver the toys, and they're super happy about it. And it's better than a Hallmark movie, though. This one is better than a Hallmark movie.
Oh, definitely.
Um,
It has a real story.
yeah,
Um,
it doesn't feel very as cheesy as well throughout. It's just at the end, it does have the cheesiest moments. Um,
I thought it was interesting the way, how do I say it? The way that she ended up with Santa.
the old lady.
And no, the teenager,
Hmm.
and she's like, "No, I'm 22," and he's like, "No, you're not. So this is legal." And uh, I thought it was interesting. I thought Ernest being he was not in the movie as much as he should have been, but he does end up saving the day.
I agree. So all the comedy does come from Ernest, um,
Yeah.
and he does a really great job at it. I mean, holding all of that. But the more heartfelt moments are supposed to be from mainly Santa, and then a little bit from Pamela and her story. Um, I wish there would have been a little more substance from Ernest.
Yeah,
Um,
but
somehow, but
he's like a Bugs Bunny.
yeah,
Like he's just a cartoon.
he is. Yeah, um, that's a good way to put it.
Mm,
But yeah, I mean, so overall, what did you think?
I think it's about out of a 1 to 10, 10 being the best. I would give it about a 6. Um, it doesn't hold back. Um, it doesn't censor itself so much. It's not a Disney movie, basically. I think it's. I think it's a. I think it's a good movie. Um, especially the Vern part.
Yeah,
I really
that's
enjoyed that.
hilarious. Yeah, I will say, like, yeah, you're. I would argue that, yeah, I would say about the same. I mean, it doesn't sound high, like a high score, but I feel like to me that's a good solid score. Um, and 6 out of 10, because I would agree with you on that. Um, I would want to say it's higher just because 6 out of 10 doesn't sound very high, but um,
I can go to 7.
I just don't think it's. I feel like 7 brings
Is
a
it
little.
too much?
I feel like it's just a little, maybe a little too much on expectations, but
It
in my
is
mind,
6.5.
yeah, I like a 6.5, yeah, for sure.
6.4.
It's worth watching just alone for its comedy, honestly.
Because
Um,
I really did find it funny. Watching it, like when I started, I was like, oh, I'm not going to like this. And watching it, I found myself laughing way more than I expected.
there's
Um,
there's a hilarious skit too, like a little scene when he's the snake.
oh,
Um,
the snake thing?
the snake,
Yeah.
and just that little, like I feel like he improvs um,
Oh, yeah.
there, and it's pretty good. Um, uh, and yeah, anyways, and it's I love it too because it's just so understandable. Like like I feel like even as a kid, and that's why like or an adult, like you when you a skit like that, like you understand it automatically, and I love how it's just hilarious, and he was able to do that. And But yeah, I would say yeah, great for the laughs. The Christmas story itself within that with Santa is actually um,
Well,
it's decent. It's okay. Um,
within 10 minutes of the movie, he's arrested. And everyone's like, Santa Claus? Who the fuck is, is this guy? And he's like, well, I'm Santa Claus. I bring joy to the children of the world. And they're like, dude, get in the car.
yeah.
We got some things to talk about. Um, I it just it it made me laugh so much. And then I guess what's his face, Jim Varney
Hmm.
is just he was a comic genius. Like he knew when to turn it off, turn it back on, and uh, no, he was hilarious in the movie. Like why? It was just I wouldn't say a smart movie, but it dealt with like a runaway child, Santa Claus being arrested, some random guy being um, arrested as well, and it it was just it's a strange movie. Um, and I would say it deserves um,
Like
some recognition for that.
yeah, it's I think the scores on Metacritic and stuff are way too low. I've seen stuff like around the 30s
Yeah, it's
and
not
stuff like that. It's not
it's
bad like
not
that.
terrible.
It's not even. I wouldn't even say it's necessarily bad. I mean,
I wouldn't say it's bad either.
it's it's an all right Christmas movie where you would watch it and you're gonna enjoy it, and you're gonna know it's not perfect, but you're gonna enjoy it.
Yeah,
Um, and so
it's like
yeah,
a goof off Christmas movie.
right for the family too. Like
Yeah, like just watch it and have fun. And Jim Varney does a bunch of characters, and he's very silly. I mean, I don't know what else.
Right.
What else to say?
Yeah, man. I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty much it on those two. Unless you want to add anything.
Um, out of the two, which would you recommend?
I think it depends on what your mood is or what the setting is, but I think if you want to put on a movie for, let's say some with you and some kids, and I think
You
the
say
gym.
Ernest.
I think Ernest is a good choice. It's something different, and you're looking for something different. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah, for me, it's the opposite. I like Scrooged. Um, I love the dated uh, special effects. Um, I especially love when he opens up the Grim Reaper's coat and there's a bunch of screaming thingies
Mhm.
in there, and he's like, "We're gonna get phone calls," and it's so dry. Like, I love Bill Murray, um, so I'm biased, and
Yeah, yeah.
uh, but I can't not recommend Ernest. Um, he's hilarious, and he's got this Jim Carrey vibe where it's like I'm gonna play like 4 or 5 characters,
Hmm.
and yeah, uh,
Yeah, I think.
it's hard for me.
Yeah, no, but that makes sense. I mean, if you had some friends over, or whatever, and you had the choice, you would play Scrooge. But is what you're saying, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if
and
I
for
had like a bunch of kids, like I'd be like, yeah, y'all are gonna watch fucking what's the other one?
Ernest, Ernest Saves Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, I would, for me, in that situation too, either one, I would lean towards Ernest. I would, in either one of those situations. Um, so yeah, uh, I just, and part of it is my bias too. Growing up and watching Ernest, I remember looking for the movies on TV and um, just and just enjoying them, and as a kid, so that's probably, yeah, that's a big part of my kind of bias. But I do love Bill Murray too.
Yeah.
I would recommend
That's
Groundhog Day for sure. Like,
um
that's a
yeah,
way
I
better
mean
movie too, I think.
he's a lot better at like darker comedy.
Hmm.
Um
He is. Yeah, that's a good point. He really is.
um
It's so natural for him. You understand it.
yeah, like you get like he seems to get it. Like he seems to get like okay, I'm gonna play this character really dark but also really funny. Tell me if you don't want me to. Otherwise, I'm gonna. And but he's pretty. Uh, I think Bill Murray's pretty versatile, and
He is. I agree.
Jim Varney is just a goofball. He's Jim Carrey. He's got like that, well, 90s Jim Carrey.
You know, he does his Ernest character is very much that
Yeah,
working class guy or that middle America
uh,
guy. You know,
exactly. Like he's that.
who likes to go fishing. You know, he
Yeah,
kind of like the trucker or
or
the
like the
construction guy or
delivery guy.
yeah, all those kind of he falls in
Like,
there, and um, you don't see that very often either, or too much nowadays at
and
least.
a lot of people don't want to play that. Like you see, what's his
Mm.
face, the cable guy, not
Oh
cable
yeah,
guy.
yeah. The other cable guy after.
Let's get her done.
Yeah.
Um, like I feel talked down to whenever I hear him speak.
Hmm. Yeah, I didn't really get into that either, and into that character. Didn't really get it.
But I found some cassettes. Do you like ELO?
I do.
I found one.
Cool.
Greatest hits. I'm gonna bring it tomorrow.
Sweet, man. Yeah. Where'd you find it?
In a drawer.
Looking through your stuff.
Yeah, I was looking for some old school 3.5 millimeter um, Apple uh,
Headphones?
earbuds.
Yeah.
Yeah, uh, couldn't find any, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Hmm.
There should be at least 3 or 4 pairs sitting in my bedroom, and I cannot find any. I have 1 pair at work, so there should at least be 2 or 3 here, and I cannot find them. Um, so I'm a little frustrated about that, and I might kill someone. But uh, it does make sense. So I thought I'd bring that to you. What's on it? What do we got? Evil Woman. Oh, Living Thing. Can't get it out of my head. Showdown. Turn to Stone. Rockaria. Sweet Talking Woman. Oh, Telephone Line. Mama Ma Bell. Strange Magic. And Mr. Blue Sky.
Hmm.
So I'll
It's a
bring that tomorrow.
famous one there. Cool, man.
Well, my favorites. Mr. Blue Sky. Or Living Thing.
Yeah, that's so Beatles right there.
And you know, George Harrison worked with them later on the.
I didn't know that. I didn't even know.
Yeah, Him
That's
and
so cool.
Jeff Lynne's the guy that headed up the band, and what's the name of the band that they formed? Is it the Walkmen? The Walking Men?
I know there was a Traveling Wilburys or something like that.
Traveling Wilburys is the one. And it was Jeff Lynne, Rob Orson, George Harrison,
Tom Petty
Tom Petty, yeah,
and
and
Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great band. But Jeff Lynne produced all their songs, and they all sounded like ELO.
Mm.
That's not a bad thing, but I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, no, it's not bad.
Like, yeah, it all sounded like yellow. But I'm gonna bring it to you tomorrow. I don't know what else I got. I found some other ones too.
Oh, cool, man.
Let me see what I got.
Hey, Mike, we should end the podcast too.
Are we still on the podcast?
Yeah, we're still recording.
Yeah.
So, if you want to say bye.
Yeah, let's.
So, thanks for listening. We're Film Juice, and we'll see you on our next podcast.
Yes.
Take care.
We're Film Juice, and we'll see you at our next podcast.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Adios.
Adios.
Now I'm ready for it. And it's great. It's a good feeling. It's really better than I felt in a long time. I'm ready. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody. Did I forget something, big man?
God